Good morning, I'm Pastor Randall Knighton, and here is Tuesday morning's Devotional. We find it coming from Matthew chapter 21, verses 23 through 27. Let's look at it in the New King James Version and then discuss what the Lord has for us today. In verse 23, Jesus says, "Now when he came into the temple, the chief priests and the elders of the people confronted him as he was teaching and said, 'By what authority are you doing these things, and who gave you this authority?' But Jesus answered and said unto them, 'I will also ask you one thing, which if you tell me, I likewise will tell you by what authority I do these things.' The baptism of John, was it from heaven or from men? And they reasoned among themselves, saying, If we say from heaven, he will say to us, Why then did you not believe him? But if we say from men, we fear the multitude, for all count John as a prophet.' So they answered Jesus and said, 'We do not know.' And he said to them, 'Neither will I tell you by what authority I do these things.'" Here's what is going on. As we talked about in Monday's devotional, Jesus is coming out of chastising those about how they were mismanaging the temple or the house of God. They had made it a den of thieves rather than a house of prayer. So now what happens oftentimes is when God challenges someone oftentimes thinks that they're on the same level as God and want to challenge him back. So now you have these religious rights who now want to challenge the true and living God. But Jesus makes it very, very clear that this really should be about submission and not one trying to question by what authority he does what he does. When you look at your life, you know that submitting to God has always led you into the right places and on the right path. We have to make sure as believers that we stay submitted to God and not cross the line where we get into a place where we begin to want to question God by what authority he does these things. God's authority is settled. God's authority is known. As a matter of fact, only God can do some of the things he's doing. So even in these tough times where many of us are dealing with the effects of the coronavirus, we cannot question God as to what he is doing. What we have to do is submit to God and allow God to handle this the way that only he can. Let us not be like the religious right. Let us not come with an attitude, but let us come to God with gratitude for the fact that the true and living God wants to be a part of our lives. And the things that he does are supernatural, so that the natural man should have no place to ever question his authority. God's authority is this because Satan asks for us each and every morning. And I want you to know the fact that you can watch this devotional this morning, the authority of God told Satan he could not have you today, for he had work for you to do. That's the authority by which he does what he does. Let's submit to that and be thankful for it. I'm Pastor Randall Knighton. You have a terrific Tuesday.